Hey guys, how's it going? So I come to you with yet another installment of my ongoing bookshelf tour that will be comprehensive, and so this is part 3, and this will be the end of the fiction and the beginning of the drama. And I want to begin all of these bookshelf tours by just saying that if there's a book that I don't talk about all that much that you want to chat about, then just let me know in the comments. And of course, if you have any comments on anything I say in this tour, then or anything I hold up in this tour, then just let me know, and I will be happy to chat with you about it. We start off today with "And Quiet Flows the Dawn" by Mikhail Sholokhov. I'm going to be buddy reading that with Sean the Book Maniac later this year. Then we Don't Move Far from Russia. This is 1914 by Alexander Solzhenitsyn, and we're sticking with Solzhenitsyn for this next one with One Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich. Quite a striking cover, I think. But this is a novel that I've actually read, and it's a really striking novel about one day in the life of a group of men living in a gulag, and it is really, really good. It has stuck with me. Alright, now we're on to John Steinbeck. This is the Acts of King Arthur and His Noble Knights. Not the John Steinbeck people immediately think of, I don't think. But one that I'm pretty excited to read, because I really like the Legends of King Arthur. Then we have Cannery Row by John Steinbeck. The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck, which I will never forget for its writing, for its themes. It's just a haunting piece of work. Roadside Picnic by Boris and Arkady Strugatsky, which I am very interested in reading because I want to read more sci-fi and fantasy this year, but also because it is the source material for the Tarkovsky film Stalker. And then completely different, we have a children's edition of Gulliver's Travels. I did not mean to order a children's edition of Gulliver's Travels when I ordered it online, so I don't really know how much longer I'm going to keep this. I might give this to my baby cousin or something, or I might even just read it anyway, just for fun, I don't know, but yeah, so unfortunately I have a children's copy of Gulliver's Travels. And we have my small collection of Donna Tartt's novels. I have all 3 of her novels, so we start with The Goldfinch, which obviously won the Pulitzer Prize, and which I ripped through so quickly despite its size because I just loved it. Wasn't such a big fan of the film, but there were aspects of the film that I liked, but the book is excellent. And we have the Little Friend, which I haven't read yet. Of course, lastly, we have The Secret History. The next up is Vanity Fair by William Makepeace Thackeray. Alright, now we're at the T's, so we inevitably come to Tolkien, who is a big one. So this is my really lovely copy of The Silmarillion, with illustrations by Ted Naismith. Maybe I can find some of the illustrations around here for you. There we go. These illustrations are absolutely lovely. Yeah. That is a really lovely. I don't know if this is doing much justice to it, but that last one is also from one of my favorite tales in this book. This topped my list of my favorite books of all time when I did the BookTube Top 10s tag. I don't know if it would necessarily be at the top anymore. It would certainly be on the list, but I don't know if it would be on the top. But at the same time, I'm not really sure what other book would come forth to replace it. So it is still sort of my default answer when people ask me for my favorite book. But then, so we have The Children of Húrin up next. Yeah, a devastating story. The Hobbit, which I do enjoy, and The Lord of the Rings, which speaks for itself on BookTube, really. Alright, and alphabetically we move on from Tolkien to Tolstoy. I have not explored Tolstoy's oeuvre as much as I would like to, but that's something I do hope to remedy this year. So first is this movie copy of Anna Karenina. I know that the movie copy is probably a controversial choice, but I found it at a thrift store, so it wasn't like a deliberate choice on my part. I just wanted a copy. And then next after that is The Death of Ivan Ilyich and Other Stories. Very excited to read the Death of Ivan Ilyich. And then we have Haji Murad, which was my fiction book of the year last year, and which I think is just marvelous, and which I would love for you all to go read, because it's awesome. Sticking with Russia once again, Fathers and Children by Ivan Turgenev, which is often, as I understand it, translated nowadays as Fathers and Sons. Alright, complete tone shift now. We have Star Wars, The Truce at Bakura by Kathy Tyers. Reunion by Fred Uhlman. This is a really not very well known, as far as I can tell. It's a World War II story about a young Jewish boy around middle school age living in Nazi Germany in the 1930s, who strikes up a friendship with a non-Jewish German boy who is the son of very wealthy, very prominent members of the Nazi Party. And they strike up this friendship, and it's a really powerful novel. It has stuck with me since I had to read it for a college class. Then we have Candida by Voltaire in this really lovely Easton Press edition. Yeah, with like the bookmark and everything and the gold pages. Really nice copy. Two Kurt Vonnegut's now. This is God Bless You, Mr. Rosewater, which I have yet to read. And then we have The Sirens of Titan, which appeared on my BookTube Top 10s tag list. And I think it would probably still be there, certainly. Alright, another total tone shift. This is The Bridges of Madison County by Robert James Waller, which I am primarily interested in reading because I do want to see the movie, because I've obviously heard very good things, and because it takes place in Iowa, and I kind of would like to read some Iowa books, you know. And then we have the last one on this shelf is Winter in the Blood by James Welch. Alright, now we have my 3 Edith Wharton novels. This is the only one that I own that I haven't read. This is The Age of Innocence, her Pulitzer Prize-winning work, which I am incredibly excited to read because I read the other 2 books that are here and thought that they were both so good. That is Ethan Frome and The House of Mirth. So, yeah, both of the, or The House of Mirth, at least, appeared on my best fiction of last year, and the Ethan Frome didn't appear on the list, but it was in the conversation, because they're both just absolutely brilliant. You know, the House of Mirth, I think, is just one of the few works of fiction where I feel confident saying that it is just perfect in just how the characters, and how the characters are portrayed, and the plot just work in concert so beautifully, and the writing in it is just incredible as well. So yeah, love Edith Wharton. And then this is a Eudora Welty, The Optimist's Daughter by Eudora Welty. This is a really nice copy of The Virginian by Owen Wister. I really hate, it really kills me how it says the greatest historical novels on the front, as though that's like the title or something. But anyway, this is The Virginian by Owen Wister, a really nice copy. It's not an Eastern Press edition like the other nice copies I have are, but it's just lovely. Look Homeward, Angel by Thomas Wolfe. This is a very, very weird Southern novel. It was published, I believe, in the 1920s, and I believe it takes place in North Carolina, one of the Carolinas, and it's kind of a coming-of-age story, just about this young boy growing up with an alcoholic father and a very overbearing mother. And so it's kind of, on the one hand, this very conventional coming-of-age story where he just, you know, grows up, goes to school, goes to college, you know, falls in love, has his sort of sexual awakening, whatever. But at the same time, it's also this really experimental, weird, sort of stream of consciousness almost novel that almost does at times read a bit like Ulysses or something. And I really liked it when I first read it, but I had some reservations about it. I think there are probably some of the experimentation about the book felt a little bit messy to me, and I feel like it didn't always work, but it's one that, on the list of books that I probably need to reread, it is pretty high. Alright, we move on now to my significant collection of Virginia Woolf novels. So we begin with one that I haven't read. This is Between the Acts, which I believe is one of her last novels, and which I am going to be buddy reading with Britta Bowler over the summer, so mightily looking forward to that. This next one is Mrs. Dalloway, which is probably still my favorite of her books. It's still the one that I think had the biggest impact on me when I finished it, I believe. Then we have Flush, a biography which I think sounds like, I haven't read it, but it sounds like such a nice little, quirky little novel. Orlando, in this movie tie-in edition that I don't particularly like, but I love Orlando. The writing and the story are just incredible. To the Lighthouse, and The Waves. And The Waves is one of those books that I can legitimately say, kind of blew my mind, honestly. Like, when I was reading The Waves, I, like, had to stop at a distinct point and just, like, lie on my bed and stare at the ceiling at the sort of revelation that I had while reading it. It's incredible. And we finish off the fiction with a weird book. This is Soul Mountain by Gao Xingjian, another Nobel Prize winner, another book that I had a hard time making sense of when I first read it, and yet another book that I need to reread. Now we move on into the beginning of the drama, starting with a classic. This is yet another Easton Press edition, this time of the Oresteia of Aeschylus. And I honestly think it's a must-read. It's just incredible. I have another volume of Aeschylus. This is The Persians and Other Plays. His other 4 extant plays. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf by Edward Albee. The Complete Plays of Aristophanes. We have a bit of Beckett now. This is Happy Days, one of his later sort of minor works. Endgame, which is hilarious, and his collected shorter plays with a really nice cover. Those who are familiar with Beckett's body of work will notice that Waiting for Godot is distinctly absent. That is because it's on loan to a friend, so it's not currently here, but I will get it back from him. This is The Rover by Afra Bain. Fanny and Alexander by Ingmar Bergman. Fanny and Alexander was, I believe, Bergman's last film, and it's also incredibly long. It's like 5 hours long. I actually rented the film from the library once, not knowing how long it was, and then looked at the back when I got back to my apartment and was like, oh boy, that's gonna be, an undertaking. So I didn't watch it. But then I came across this in a used bookstore, and I was just intrigued that a screenplay would get published as a book like this, so I grabbed it, and I figured that at some point I can read the screenplay, and that might make the movie go down a bit easier. This is R.U.R. by Karl Čapek. 2 plays by Anton Chekhov. Mad Forest, a play from Romania by Carol Churchill. Wit by Margaret Edson. Another one of my books of the year last year. Just incredible, devastating. You should read the play, and if you don't watch the play, then you should watch the movie with Emma Thompson that is based on it. The Complete Plays of T.S. Eliot. We now have 2 copies of Goethe's Faust. This is the Princeton University edition of Part 1 and Part 2, translated by Stuart Adkins, and this is the translation by Walter Kaufmann, which has all of Part 1, but only brief sections of Part 2, which is a little bit frustrating, because actually Walter Kaufmann's is much more poetic and beautiful. It is gorgeous. It's just frustrating that it has only part of Part 2. And I also think that the Stuart Adkins introduction is much more enlightening than the Walter Kaufmann introduction. But obviously I wanted, both parts in whole. So, but Goethe's Faust is a lot of work. It's not easy. A commenter once referred to it to me as the Ulysses of plays, and I absolutely agree with that assessment. At least with Part 2. Part 1 you can pretty much read as just a standalone work of drama, and I think it's very effective, but Part 2 is just incredibly weird, and I've read it twice now, and I still don't know what to make of it. But if you're willing to put in the work, it can be a lot of fun and very interesting. Completely Changing Setting, A Raisin in the Sun by Lorraine Hansberry. 10 Plays by Euripides. I am buddy reading a bunch of Euripides with Mark over at Wordsworth Everywhere, Madeline from Made with Books, and Roz from Scally Dandling About the Books. I think I have her channel name right. From the one play that we've read so far, I think I like him even more on a second go. He's just brilliant, a brilliant psychologist. I would pit him against Shakespeare any day of the week, I think, as a playwright. And we have a few Václav Havel volumes. I don't know how many people know that Václav Havel, the first president of the non-communist Czech Republic, was also a writer before he was a politician, and he was primarily known for his plays. So this is The Garden Party and other plays. Largo Desolato, which is an autobiographical play about a writer, which I quite liked. And Temptation, which has quite an interesting cover design, but is supposed to be sort of Václav Havel's own weird little take on the Faust legend, which I think sounds intriguing. And then we end out with a classic. This is A Doll's House by Henrik Ibsen, which was one of my books of the year back in 2018. I thought it was just incredibly gripping and interesting, yeah. So anyway, that is the third part of this shelf tour. Again, give me your thoughts. And I will return next time, where we will begin with a ton of Shakespeare and George Bernard Shaw. So the fourth installment of this shelf tour might be a little less interesting to people who aren't interested in Shakespeare or George Bernard Shaw, so I apologize for that. But anyway, for the rest of you, I will see you in the next installment or in my next video. So, bye guys.